Hey, we got it.
Now we're able to do the thing again.
We're able to do the thing again, which we should be continuing to do.
Yes, we're going to continue doing it. Life gets in the way.
Yeah, like starting a new full-time job.
Yeah.
That gets in the way.
Lots of life gets in the way of doing a passion project. And the weird thing happens where it's like, we know that this makes us happy to do.
Yeah.
But once we've done so many of them, it starts to blend into like we've got to do this thing.
Yeah.
And then like all of the motivation to actually get up and do it stops. And it stops even more if you miss your date like we did.
Yeah.
We missed a technical week.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I just want to put it off longer. I just want to go further. No. But
Yeah.
we're here.
We are here, and we have some spicy, juicy ass shit to talk about. And it's going to pertain to some things that we haven't really flushed out fully in our other discussions. But I think this is the one where we're going to flush out some stuff.
We're going to try.
And keep in mind that a lot of this is opinion. But at this point, I'm just going all opinion. I don't care.
Yeah, we're just like the news guys. We're not here to give you the facts. We're here to give you our opinions on what's going on.
Yeah. And then you can, believe it or not.
Yeah, I don't know if you understood that about the news. They're just reporting their opinions.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Okay. So basically, let's just jump into this right away.
Okay, go for it.
So-
You take lead.
Basically, I don't know if you guys know about... who doesn't know about InfoWars and Alex Jones, right? A lot of people know about him and his show, and there is a lot of, let's say, bad vibes that come when you talk about him and a lot of the stuff that he does, because, there's legitimate concern about his personality and shit. But I want to take a step back for a minute. Basically, what's happening right now, one of the contractors that Alex Jones works with, her name is Millie Weaver. Literally just yesterday, about 24 hours ago, she just got arrested in her home yesterday morning. Basically, under the pretense or supposed idea that she had burglarized something.
Yeah, and evidently that was enough for them to have a grand jury indictment against her where the cops came and somewhat peaceably arrested her and brought her in and ended up telling her that she was being charged with burglary, which, kind of strange.
Yeah, incredibly strange. But here's the kicker. Here's the weird thing that's going on. Her and her husband, Gavin, over the past year, we're in the process of compiling documents and interviews and doing research in the process of creating a documentary. And the documentary is called Shadowgate. And basically what this documentary is going into is it breaks down the entire government and media conglomerate complex and how it is legally regulated that they have been using literal full-on psychological operations and warfare on the American people using like military grade like programs and software to either push news and information out into the public using social media, mainstream media. And it's a documentary basically breaking down everything that like we've been thinking for a long time. Or at least I've been thinking for a long time.
Well, yeah, you follow more of the Alex Jones stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I follow My Crazy People because, we just kind of frame some of our sources as crazy people because it's easier for others to digest it that way if they know that we understand that there's an aspect that's like,
it's kind of crazy.
My people are all alien people. So
Yeah.
I end up getting most of my political information from the realms that you draw from. But
Right.
fuck, I had an idea. Oh my God. Apparently, I'm out of practice.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. But anyway, if it comes back up, just let me know. But anyway, Millie Weaver and her husband were putting together this like hour and a half long documentary with whistleblowers and insiders that worked with the NSA and the Department of Defense, Department of Justice and stuff, who were a part of the process of building this system, this basically like information dissemination system for use by the military overseas, like in foreign countries and like war-torn areas.
For operational information gathering.
Right, exactly. And these people who worked on building this, basically after, a decade of being overseas, come back to the United States and say, hey, all of these things that we built, literally for like foreign
monitoring enemies,
are now being used here, like on our own people. And it's all linked to a group of people. Let's say a group of people within the government, the deep state, right? It's linked to a group of people who are using these systems throughout the media and through like big tech, social media.
If you think this is a little far-fetched too, I implore you to start researching. Don't use Google because it'll all be censored, but research the CIA's documents that have been released in recent years, because they have it all right there in plain wording that the CIA and the government have long since had a active program where they are learning how to do psychological manipulation on the mass public.
Yeah.
And this isn't like some secret. This is something that they all accept. They're like, yes, we have been doing this. Well, our programs have been running for 40 plus years.
Right.
And the fact that people don't understand that they are constantly, whenever you're on Facebook, whenever you're on Twitter, whenever you're on YouTube, when you're watching TV, if you watch what's on Netflix and the type of things that their original programs, if you compare their new Netflix series originals to something like The Office, you can tell the difference. Like The Office doesn't have any agenda.
Yeah.
All of the shows now do have agendas, and you don't even realize they do. You're just like accepting it. You're just like eating the information. You're like, this is a cool story. I like it. And all the while, the repetition of this information slowly
seeps into your brain, into
and it
your
becomes
psyche.
Your opinions.
Yeah,
and this
correct.
is part of it. That's why this stuff is coming out now. That's why all the shows are coming out the way they are. If you've ever questioned, like, why are these shows so fucking weird now? It's because they're agenda laced. All of it.
Yeah, like any of the shows that give you weird feels and stuff. It's like, yeah, that's all. Like the way that this stuff works is it's so underhanded and it's so slight. Like it's not like in your face. You need to think this. You need to believe this.
No, because that would never work.
It's like the process of taking, say, a character in a TV show,
like the hero. They make you love a certain character. They make you really enjoy them, and then they put that hero in front of certain decisions that they have to make, and then the hero, by the sound of the music and the framing of the light and by the general orchestration of how the show is going, you know what the hero's right decision is and what the wrong decision is. That is programming, because that right decision is now already in your brain as, this is what the character's supposed to do. They're honorable, they're good, they're moral. They have to do this thing. That decision is now associated with honorable and moral.
Right, exactly. And then like you can see it in a lot of TV shows where they put characters, or in movies as well, in situations that are almost a little bit too ridiculous to be like close to reality, and then that gives the viewer this like
super tangible feel.
Right, this idea of like, oh, this must be what actually happens in the world, and therefore I must think about things like this that are happening, whether or not they might actually be happening or not.
Regardless of what the truth of the actual world is, this is happening in the show that's trying to depict the real world, so it must be. Right,
exactly. And the format of this documentary, basically, that Millie Weaver and her husband just got arrested for yesterday. Okay, it wasn't arrested for that. They don't know why they're arrested, first of all. But the documentary itself isn't necessarily about like the programming in TV shows and stuff. It's more so the documentary is about the actual like tangible systems and the people that are in place that are actually pulling these levers, that are
Basically, it's all the smoking guns.
yeah, all of the smoking guns saying like, look, like these people are actually doing this stuff. Like one of the ladies that helped produce it basically said that all of the back doors in the spying systems that the NSA uses on the general American public, basically, they're not concerned about the average American. What they're concerned about is like when they're using these spying programs, they're using it on high level officials. They're using it on, presidents, senators, congressmen. They're using it on media outlets, people that are high up in media. And they're using that information basically to, let's say, get what they want to.
Well, yeah, you can orchestrate anything however you want because you can convince anybody of anything.
Right.
We all witnessed, if you're listening to this podcast and you're over the age of like 10, we've all witnessed the age of information come in when the internet became more useful than a library and parents had to tell their children, like, make sure you're not believing everything you read on the internet. And it's like, now we have to tell our parents, like, make sure you're not believing everything you read on the internet. We have now left the age of information. With the deep fake programs that are now available, I mean, I was playing with one just the other day. It's called Reface. It's a really fun app. You get 3 free days. It's really fun. Sponsor us. No, I'm just kidding. But it can create whatever you want.
Right.
You can be in a place you've never been, in a suit that you've never worn, in an office, saying things you've never said, but it looks exactly like you in every way, shape, or form.
Right.
And this is a program that is, since it's hitting like social media and they're trying to sell it to us now, this has already been enacted for a long time. And this is just one of the like most blatant things to show that we are in the age of disinformation. Like at this point, nothing I see on any news channel has any credibility. Like, it's enough to be like, okay, so something happened there. And then I go and research it and I find out what actually happened, because every news station is going to make up their own version of it.
Right, exactly. And all of that is connected back to a very specific conglomeration of people that are pushing these things. Like there is an agenda that's being driven. It's not like each news network has their own agenda. It's each news network has like assets, like implanted people in their news networks that all have ties to the same CIA connections. Like no matter if it's Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, or even a lot of online,
especially the online ones
that you would think are alternative media but aren't. Like a lot of them are connected, and they're all connected to this same basically group of people that are using these disinformation tactics to manipulate the views of the public on both sides of the political party, like on both sides, to get a result that they want. And that's the part that I think people need to understand the most, is that like you need to question the things that you're thinking, like as right as you think you are, like you have to. Like I don't care if it's like taking into consider the Black Lives Matter movement, or you taking into consideration the coronavirus. The coronavirus is another whole fucking other level. But basically anything that has people super heated right now, like, the people who would be considered Democrats fighting for the Black Lives Matter movement, and then the Republicans on their side fighting against it. And it's like, that is an engineered battle that's happening right now. And both sides have their validity and incorrectness at the same time, but it's engineered on purpose. Like,
if you hate someone right now, if you hate like a particular group, if you are disgusted by someone else's policies, there's a reason you feel that way. And it's not because you've talked to them. It's not because you've sat down and really listened to why they believe what they believe. Right. It's because someone somewhere was programming you to believe a certain thing.
Right.
And if you immediately are like, someone has a different opinion from me, I need to cut them out, they are immediately labeled as bad, you are entirely brainwashed. I
Yeah.
am sorry. You have to come back. You are part of the biggest problem in the world right now. If you think that just because someone has a different view from you, they need to be completely cut out and looked down upon with scorn, do you really think about that? Like, do people really think that that's a natural thing that they come from? Like, when I'm walking around and I see something that someone does, like, let's say they're driving and they throw trash out their window. I'm like, God damn it, you motherfucker. But I don't judge them. I don't think that they're the worst person ever. Maybe I'll pull up next to their car and they have little children. Maybe for some reason it got blown out the window. But if you make that immediate judgment of like, fuck that person, I'm going to call the cops or whatever, you are a problem. You are more of a problem than a help to the world.
Right. And that metaphor that you just brought is being played out in reality, in the world, in the public, in the political and moral domain, like right now. Like we have literal one group of people that are controlling both narratives, and both sides are being the same puppet master is sitting up there being like, this information to this people, this information to this people, and now they fight, and now we get what we want. Fantastic. And it's
united we stand, divided we fall.
Absolutely.
Don't be divided.
Right. And there's a whole slew of information out there about why this is happening. And if you just dig a little bit, you can understand what's going on. It's like,
but it's becoming harder and harder to dig now.
Yeah.
We've noticed this.
Because you have to dig so hard now.
I mean, well, all of the normal assets that we use, like back in the day, you could Google CIA documents and you could come up with the one you wanted within like 5 minutes. Now I have to jump to different search engines just to like compare and be like, okay, so this is what Google's giving me. All right. Oh, there it is. I found it on DuckDuckGo. Who the fuck thought I'd be looking on DuckDuckGo? But Google's a goddamn like government pawn at this point.
Yeah, that's the whole premise of this documentary that these people literally just got arrested for. They're saying that every single search, YouTube, Google, Facebook, everything that you see, there is an algorithm that is catered to the things that you look at
and what they want you to see.
And then what they want you to see. Like, what you think you're seeing is like, oh, these things are just the things that people are posting on my feed. No. That like the entire conglomeration of social media has a profile on you, and they put you either in this camp or this camp. And if they find that you're in this camp, they're going to promote the things in this area that continue that basically create an echo chamber for you to continue believing the same things. They don't show you dissenting information on purpose. Like it puts you on these paths, and the actual social media algorithms themselves are doing that on purpose. Like, if you go and you are a very democratic person, super like Black Lives Matter supportive, wear the mask for the coronavirus stuff supportive, social justice supportive stuff, right? And you go and you Google something, your search results will be different than somebody else's search results who are not in that same line of thinking, depending on who is doing the search. Like, the results that you get are catered to you and what people want you to see.
I mean, it's super self-evident in the fact that all of the social media giants and many of the other ones who aren't considered giants are all working hand in hand. And if you didn't believe that, y'all remember when that the video from the steps of like Congress or whatever came out?
All the doctors
coming out saying that they disagreed with coronavirus. I bet the only thing that most of the people remember is the lady that came out and said that there were demons involved, because that's the part that got ridiculous. And so they grabbed onto that, and that's the only part that managed to like survive to the surface where everybody else can see it.
Right. Here's the problem with that, though. That entire time that those doctors were addressing and did that whole 45-minute long presentation with those doctors, the one who was super religious and believed the demon thing and the demon sperm and all that, she didn't say any of that during that.
No, she didn't?
No, this was something that was like years ago in a conference that she did. And then they dug up basically
to
discredit her specifically.
And they managed to discredit the entirety of the thing because of one person's comments from years ago.
Yes. Like one doctor out of like dozens that were there, they found something silly on and grabbed it, hooked onto it, and then discredited the entire thing from this one thing. Like that's how they do it, man. That's how they fucking do it. It's insane.
But the point was the reason why or how it's self-evident that the social media giants are all hand in hand with each other is that video at one point in time, it like established across from all of the platforms was erased.
From all of them.
Yes, banned completely. You can't share the link. The attachments are unavailable. And it happened in one motion. At the same time, across all the platforms, this thing was deleted. Now, this brings up a pretty good point. So, I mean, Americans, we generally are like freedom of speech. Whether you're right, wrong, stupid, or smart, freedom of speech. You're allowed to say what you're feeling, you're thinking, whatever. As long as you are not trying to get other people to hurt other people, we don't really care.
As long as you're not calling for violence.
Has anybody else noticed that there's been sweeping bans from people who are coming out with information? It started like with the coronavirus stuff. I know the idea. I know the idea they're trying to get by like banning certain people. It's dangerous. They're spreading disinformation about a virus that could kill people.
Yeah.
Well, first off, this virus is barely killing people.
Yeah.
Second off, starting with like David Icke. David Icke is kind of radical. He's one of those like lizard people guys. He's like, lizard people are involved in the government. This coronavirus is a hoax. Everything's bad. Pretty easy to just look at that and be like, okay. You're kind of nutty, but whatever. Different information. I like hearing stories. He got completely banned from like everything. You cannot find him on anything except for like Alex Jones's show.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? What's the reasoning? If someone's speaking such ridiculousness, like such scoffable things, like he's literally talking about the lizard people running the government. Why are you so afraid of what he's saying?
Right, exactly. That is
because
okay.
it's because the coronavirus is dangerous.
They try and justify it. All right, so this is part of that, like that the postmodernism ideology a lot with that Jordan Peterson talks about, and like the communist socialist ideas, and they talk about how basically that what a lot of the people that are on the more radical side of the Democratic Party, the radical left, you could call them, quote unquote, they're trying to basically say that there is no free speech. That like
that goes into the safe space shit.
They say like hate speech is not free speech. But it's like, yes, it is. I'm sorry, but yes, it is. Like what they're trying to do is saying anything that you say that could possibly offend somebody else is doing emotional damage to them, and that's the same thing as violence.
And that's
what they're trying to say.
This goes into like the safe space stuff where people are talking about, oh, this is a safe space campus. What is a safe space? Think about it. A safe space is someplace where no one can question what you believe. No one can say anything to insult that could potentially insult you or hurt you. Where is there a safe space in normal life? Kindergarten? No, you are deliberately sent there, so you are out of your safe space. The last safe space and only safe space you will ever have was when your mother was taking care of you, making you chicken nuggies and grilled cheese with chocolate milk before you went off to kindergarten. If you think you need a safe space now, go back to your mother. Because there is no safe space. We are adults. We are human beings functioning in a real society. There is no such thing as a safe space unless you're alone or with someone who's just going to coddle you.
Right.
Echo chambers destroy the world.
Yeah, and nature itself is unsafe. Okay?
Yes, that's
we
the whole
all
point.
die. We all die, dude. We all suffer. We all die. Some of us slow, painful deaths. All right, like the nature of existence itself is not safe.
Is to be unsafe.
It's dangerous. But what that does, I don't know. But like the nature of reality itself is unsafe. It because it causes growth, it causes expansion. It makes you you start to see your own flaws. When something makes you uncomfortable, it makes you question things. And like the whole point of existence is to be uncomfortable. Like we're not here to be hedonistically like in these perfect bubbles of pleasure and
What would life consist of if you were just always just perfectly comfortable and nothing ever made you question anything? You would live in nothingness.
there would be no reason to exist.
No, you would be spending a pointless existence just having your heart beat until it stops.
Yeah.
That'd be it.
Right, exactly. It's like, so, why didn't nature just create us in these little like pods filled with ecstasy, and then we come to life, and then we're just in ecstasy our entire life, and then we just go away. Like that's not how life works. That's not how nature works. And like these people they have a very corrupted view. It's a world view. It's not a. That's the thing about the whole social justice warrior movement and all of that. They have a very corrupted view about what reality is supposed to be and what it is. They're very disconnected from what nature is, from what the universe is, from what society and people and life and relationships are. They're like, there's no reality there. They don't live in the basis of reality. They live in a very they're boxed into a specific worldview that is incredibly limited, and it's causing a massive amount of damage.
And that's just one example. It happens on the far right as well. It happens in all like segmented groups. The more tribally isolated your group has become, the more brainwashed you are. And if you're capable of, okay, no, hang on. I'm trying to draw up a quote, but I think I'm going to have to paraphrase. If you are easily angered or easily like saddened, then you are easily manipulated. Mm-hmm. So if you feel these spikes when you're scrolling through your feed and you see something and you disagree with it and you're like, oh, now I'm angry, you're being manipulated.
Yeah.
You should not proceed in any way, shape, or form to communicate your ideas or your opinions to others when you are in an aggravated or emotional state, because you are already being completely manipulated. You are believing something that someone else wants you to believe deliberately. These things aren't just happening because humans are just going around to like make you upset. You are being shown this stuff because you are being guided to be a certain way. And if you don't take note of it, you are being mindlessly led.
Right, exactly. And that's I think the biggest point of this entire the entire thing that's happening in the world right now is like and the thing is, there is an evil. All right, there is something bad out there that we need to be pushing against. And the thing that's bad out there is the exact same thing that this documentary that these people got arrested for is pushing against. It's pushing against disinformation. It's pushing against like anything that's pulling away from the truth of reality, like what's really going on. These people are creating a false reality for you.
This totally goes into like consciousness too, because
right.
More CIA papers have shown that we literally create the reality we reside in and you can think of it in any way. Like the easiest, most digestible way to think of it is when you're driving your car and you believe a certain thing and you're like, I hate McDonald's. Do you know what your consciousness is going to pick up on? All those McDonald's signs to make you angry. Because you're already carrying this piece of hate inside of you, and you're like, fuck that McDonald's. How dare they make all this bad food and poison the world? There's McDonald's there. There's a McDonald's there. Oh, look, advertisement. Oh, look, my radio's playing that. It's because your consciousness is focused in on that hatred. So the entire time, and that applies to every single emotion you have, if you're really happy, you're going to look over in the car next to you, and you're going to be like, aw, look at that family. They're so sweet. I love that. Oh, that makes me happy. You literally create the reality you see, and that expands far beyond, but that's the most digestible version for most people.
Right. And when you go super deep into this, you're looking at, like, if you want to get into the metaphysical aspect, it's like there's the people who are, like, participating in these government and not even government. They're at this point you can't even call it government because it's not government. It's a secret society.
Yeah.
It's a secret society of people who function outside of all of the laws and all of the things that everyone else are basically like what we think of law and order, and like we need to follow these rules and do things so everybody is on the same page. Like these people don't function in that. Like these people are outside of that, like putting their little tendrils in and manipulating us inside of it. So, but that goes into the like the metaphysical aspect of everything, where it's like all of this disinformation and the things that are emotionally triggering us and pushing us into this crazy divide. Like they're trying to take control of us to create their reality. They're trying to use our own power against us, our reality creating power, right? Because if they can control the information that we see and the emotions that we're feeling, they can control the realities that we individually create. And when they have the power and the ability and the science and the technology,
and they can literally just like direct us this way and direct us that way for their agenda to how they need to get to where they're going.
So then we just become like little hamsters on the wheel, helping to create the reality that they want to create. And instead of having like autonomy and creating the reality in the way that we see fit through actual real information that we come across in our own experiences, we're interfacing with this technology that is pushing us in the directions to create a reality that is not our own. It's one that we don't want. It's one that is being forced down our throats, and so many people don't even understand it or see it. So
there's this quote that I saw a bit ago, and I think it's from like Rich Dad Poor Dad or something like that. One of those books that's like really well renowned for its perspective on the world. And one of the lines in it actually talked about a pandemic of like whatever 1918, when the thing that's being compared to the coronavirus all the time. And the quote went something along the lines of so the president he contacted the newspapers, and he told them he needed them to stop reporting on the pandemic because they were creating a fear cycle within the populace that was only perpetuating what's happening. And obviously I'm paraphrasing. I don't have a very good brain for that. And then after the news said, okay, you're the president, we'll agree with you on this one. A month later, the pandemic was gone. And I can't help but think, like, what if all the news stations went off? What if no one was able to hear any news for 1 month? What do you think would happen? Do you think everybody would start getting sick? Do you think the world would start crumbling? We don't need the news. The news isn't serving us. What good does it do me to hear about the California fires? Unless I'm traveling there, in which case I would like look it up and be like, what's going on in California? But the news stations constantly reporting about what the worst thing that's happening in the world is like what's going on with it. It doesn't serve us. It's not helping anybody. Imagine what your life would look like if all of your news sources were shut off for a month. What would your viewpoint on the world be? Would you think better of people? Would you think worse of people?
Yeah, and the thing that's so crazy about this, man, is that people are perpetuating it like as individuals. Every single person that shares an article on Facebook, every single person that like retweets or reposts something that comes from a mainstream news source, it's like you're literally perpetuating that cycle. And it's like this self-fulfilling thing. It's like they set it out into reality, and then the little minions just go and, oh, that made me so emotional, share. And then it's just this web that expands out through society, and it's all they have to do is push one button, and it just there it goes.
And society at this point is so trained that they don't even have to like authoritatively hold us. Like they don't have to redirect us or anything like that. Our social system is going to do it, because if I go and I post something that I think is interesting, my social media feed is going to either attack it or proliferate it based on everybody who's already made up their opinions based off of the information that they've gotten. So it's not like there's lots of opinions coming forth and they're all being discussed. It's two views, and you're either one or the other, and anything in between will be attacked by these exalted parties.
Right.
And if you think our politics are real, why do we only have the two parties? Why for years have we been deciding between an asshole and a douchebag? Like, once again, Joe Biden, I was a Democrat for like all of my voting years. I was a Democrat, for better or for worse. And then Hillary. And I was like, what the fuck just happened? There's no way I can vote for that person.
Yeah.
And then Biden. Guys, if you still don't believe Biden's a pedophile, you literally have a blindfold on your face. He is the most blatant pedophile I've ever seen. The man can't even keep his hands off of little children's dicks on live TV. Like, they can't even hide it. And the fact that Black Lives Matter funneled close to $700 million to the DNC. Why did that happen?
Right, exactly. It's like everything is so just in your face connected. It's so in your face connected. Just like I just want to scream it, man. Like, wake the fuck up. Like, stop all of this craziness. Like, I'm watching my Facebook feed like fill up with more stuff. There was this kid like Connor or something who got shot in the head and outside of his house riding his bike by a black guy who was a neighbor. And now, like, on the people who are on the anti-Black Lives Matter side, well, okay, no, it's not anti-Black Lives Matter. It's like anti any one specific thing matters. I don't know, but they're using that now as like, oh, well, where's the protest for this kid? Where's the and then I see the people on the other side. Well, it's because of this, and this, because that person got arrested right away, and all this. I'm watching literally like these groups of people just like meme warring it out, basically.
Yeah,
it's just like a fucking meme war of these the big ideas themselves are incorrect and wrong completely on both sides.
So everything stemming from these rotten trees is going to be just as rotten.
Right. And then people are trying to rationalize like why something is or isn't happening because of these specific things, and they're just down here looking at like these little pieces when it's like, pull away from that. Like, this whole fucking thing is a scam, dude. Like, the entire
left, right, whatever you believe, it's a fucking scam. We are being trained to fight each other to the death. And to hate one another. And
the entire time that we're sitting here fighting, there's these people up there that are just like, goodbye this right. And
they're just
goodbye this right.
They're
More
just
power for me.
racing them off.
More power for me. Now pretty soon, it's literally like a fucking like a movie where you have
like dystopian movie.
A dystopian movie where you have this like evil dude just like up there just like fucking with everything, and it's like it's so unreal, dude. It's so insanely unreal, and it makes me sad and anxious and like insanely depressed just to watch every single time that I go on social media. I can't even post.
No, I completely stopped. I find myself, even if it's like a really interesting thing, I'll type up my response and then I'll look at it again and I'll just scroll away.
Yeah.
And I never actually interact with people anymore because I know the entirety of it is just toxic. You're not changing anyone's belief anymore. The only way, well, it comes back to this. How do you think you fight like bad stuff? Do you fight hate with hate? Is that how the world functions? Is that how we heal?
Right.
No. Hate versus hate creates more hate. The only way you get through is with love. You fight darkness with light. You fight hate with love. So even the people that are completely different from you, people who think that I am like racist or misogynistic or that I'm an idiot or something, all I have to say to them is that I love you. I've got no problem with you. You are allowed to have every problem you want with me. But if you ever would like to have a discussion, I am ready and I am willing. I'm here.
Yeah. And like, I'm willing to listen to what you have to say.
Yeah. Even if that entire conversation is you screaming at me, I'll listen to you.
Yeah. And that's,
I won't hurt you. I won't lash out at you. I'm not going to try to make you less than what you are. You're allowed to hate, but I'm only going to meet that with love.
right. And that's what's so like disconcerting about everything that I'm seeing right now is it's so blatantly obvious and in your face the level of manipulation that's happening on a public level. And unless people freaking like slow the fuck down, stop what they're doing, stop the like warring for their side, and look at this shit for what it actually is, like we're gonna keep going to hell. It's like further and further.
It's like you've got two opposing armies, and you don't know who the fuck the generals are. You don't know who the captains or anybody are. You have your like lieutenants who are your like social media people who are like, oh yeah, I believe this and I'm a celebrity. I believe this and I'm a celebrity. And then all of us, the people who are just normal people going about our day, living our lives, trying to make ends meet and just like have the life we want, like have children, have a home, have a garden, whatever. We are the foot soldiers. But think, we're the only ones fighting. All of us, let's say we've got our bayonets at each other, and we all throw them on the ground. Every single soldier throws their weapon on the ground. We're no longer attacking. We disagree, but now our only weapons are going to be a discussion. We're not able to hurt someone. We're not going to get someone fired from the job. We're not going to go around and try to lash out and like get other people to hate them. The only things that we're going to fight with, standing on the front line against each other, are why do you believe what you believe? Why do you believe what do you believe? I believe what I believe because of this.
It's like, oh, well, maybe I can relate a little bit to some parts of that. So maybe I'll adjust myself a little bit here. And then the other person says, oh, well, maybe I believe little parts of your side, so I can adjust myself a little bit here. And then we get closer to the truth.
But but in that conversation, you have to remember to keep your weapon on the ground.
Yeah.
You're not trying to hurt the other person. If you're trying to hurt the other person, you're already back on being like,
you're lost.
I'm going to kill you now. Because your only goal is to hurt, to make someone else suffer. And everybody has that tendency. The point is you have to stop it. You have to notice that tendency within you, and we get it too. Like we are certainly not immune from it, but we've spent a very, very long time of being like, oh, I can feel my anger. I'm gonna bring that fucker back down.
Like maybe it will take me over for a little small period of time, but eventually, every time I've trained myself to the point where I'm like, wait a minute. All it takes is one person to say a little something, and I'm like, wait a minute. Hold on, I was fucked up there. Like,
The important part is to be able to be like, hold up. I see what I just did.
I just lifted my gun up. I lifted my gun up, and I didn't
brought it up because I really wanted to fight you on that. But I apologize. Yeah. It's back on the ground. Let's continue discussing.
Right, and that's it. That like you have to come from there because that's the only way we get to the truth, and that's the only way that like.
And that's the entire reason why we are the way we are right now, why we're pitted against each other, is because of the control systems. Naturally, this is what happens. We want to understand one another. We can avoid the war entirely, but that's completely against what they want.
Yeah.
They don't get control if we're united.
Right, exactly. And that's it. It's so simple and it's so obvious. I can't express enough how insanely important it is that people like stop with the social media news. Like, what do you think about probably about 3 to 5 years ago what YouTube and Facebook and stuff looked like? Okay. Right. That it was all very independent people who were creating their own way on YouTube, on social media and stuff.
Yeah.
And now when you go onto YouTube, it's Fox, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, CNN, MSNBC, like over and over and over and over again. If you want to find the independent media information, you have to dig, and you have to dig hard to find anything that's okay. That's not like video games and stuff that has nothing to do with like political discourse in any way, but anything having to do with society, like societal stuff, political stuff. You are immediately directed to reputable news sources and nothing else comes up unless you specifically know exactly where you're going. Like, it doesn't get suggested to you. It doesn't show up in searches. Like, you have to find it. That's not on accident. That's not on accident. There's a reason why, like, Fox and CNN and all of those shows, right? They went from television, where they started failing because real media and, like, real news that actually triggered people's
like journalism,
true
journalism,
like brains to think, started popping up online, like on YouTube and all of that. And now, over the course of the past probably 5 years, that has all changed. Like, they got into the internet.
They bought out all of the companies, and then they ousted all the people that they really that people really identified with. They all got pushed out of YouTube.
Yeah.
And now they have to do their own shows on their own websites, where they're still very, very successful, because people gravitate towards the truth and truth seekers, whether they be misinformed or they have to change their opinions. The fact is that they're willing to change their opinions.
Right.
When was the last time a news station reported something and then they were found out to be wrong, and a week later they were like, hey, just in case anybody missed it, we were wrong?
Yeah.
When have you ever heard a news station say that they were wrong? But they're wrong all the fucking time.
And I think the problem with that is they're not wrong on accident. Like, I think that's where the problem lies.
And that's like, they stack up this disinformation and they never go back and remove any of it or erase their mistakes, which completely dissolves their credibility in my eyes. I don't trust a single one of the news stations anymore, because they're all frequently so wrong, and they never apologize for it. They never make note of their failings. And if someone was like that in real life, you would think they were a gross, toxic person. Because it's like, you get to say whatever you want, and you never take any
action or back up your claims or anything.
You just say the things and walk away from it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, man. That's the thing about all this that's going on. It's like the people want so hard to, like, hate on people like Alex Jones. People want to like push them off to the side and say that they're crazy and they have their own agenda and all this stuff. It's like, if that was real, they wouldn't be banned. I'm sorry, but they wouldn't be pushed onto his own platform.
Yeah.
He has his issues, he has his problems, and there's a lot of things that he probably is wrong on certain points, but he seems to me to be a genuine person who wants to know the truth and is passionate about it. And he has a personality that not a lot of people like, and he probably himself gets information that's incorrect and fucked up and whatever. It doesn't matter. But he shouldn't be banned. He should be able to talk. And that's the same thing that goes for there's so many people now that I have watched get banned off of these platforms.
I mean, even videos, like even like documentary things where people have spent like years of their life putting together all of this credible information, like the Tom Hanks one.
Yeah.
Like it had like 5 million views, and then it was just wiped from the internet.
Yeah.
Or the pedogate ones. They've been wiped from the internet too.
Yeah, all of that shit.
It's like, why?
And the
why
pandemic.
Yeah,
Plandemic. That fucking documentary. That thing had millions of views. And
if it's
like,
not true, then you don't need to censor it. You can just comment on it and be like, this part's false, this part's false, this part's false, because of this, this, and this, and this, and this. The reason why you hide these things is because you can't discredit enough of it to make the whole thing fall apart. So you have to get rid of it.
Right. What you should be doing, if there are... if Alex Jones is so wrong, right? Leave him up, create a counter.
Have someone who's just countering him all the time.
Yeah, I'm just being like, well, this is why he's lying here. This is why he's not right here. This is why he's not right here. And put it out so we can get closer to the truth. If the Plandemic documentary was not true, make a documentary saying why it's not true. Don't just fucking get rid of it. If all of those doctors that talked on the steps of Congress or whatever were just complete lying and bullshit, saying that there's a cure for COVID and that all the fear is unnecessary and this is all ridiculous, if they're wrong, tell us why. Tell us why it's wrong. Go through each and every individual fucking point that one of those people was saying and tell us why they're not real. Don't just ban it. Because they do it under the guise of, oh, well, it's disservice.
It's dangerous.
It's dangerous and disservice to the public. Why? Tell me fucking why. Because if they're wrong, you should be able to tell me why. And they can't. That's why they ban it. And if you think anything different, I'm sorry, but you're wrong. Like that's how it should be. That's how freedom of speech works, and that's how we get better as people in a society. You look at something and you don't say, "Hey, they're fucked up because they believe in demons and eating demon sperm is wrong," or whatever the fuck. Okay, yeah, sure, yeah. Well,
it does
okay,
seem kind of crazy, whatever. But it
Yeah.
doesn't discount everything else that was said.
Right. Like, tell me why hydroxychloroquine doesn't work. Tell me why literally these. Here's the weird thing about when the coronavirus first started, there were like doctors in their offices, like hundreds and hundreds of doctors just on their cell phones, recording videos, going through papers, being like, "What? This is fucked up. What they're having us do? Like, this isn't right. Like, what's going on here?" Hundreds of doctors I saw being shared everywhere. All of those videos and all of those doctors are fucking gone. Like literal, like normal practicing doctors were going onto social media and saying that all of these things that they're saying are fucked up and wrong.
Well, just think about the practices that are happening with COVID. You know, all the things that are meant to keep us safe. Mm-hmm. Now, logically, with your human brain, think about this. When you go to a restaurant, you wear a mask when you enter. You get brought over to a table. You get sat down at that table and you take off your mask. Now, let's say there's 50 people in that restaurant. Is the air conditioner on? So all the air is being recycled. And we already know that, according to them, COVID does not die in open air, and it will transmit.
Travels through droplets.
Mm-hmm. It'll get you. Mm-hmm. So everybody in that restaurant is exposed to everybody else's air. Mm-hmm. But this is the practice. I went to a restaurant just last week. Mm-hmm. I went and sat at the bar. Once I got sat at the bar, I could take off my mask. I looked around. I was maybe 5 feet away from the nearest person. Mm-hmm. No one cares.
Yeah.
No one's doing anything. Everyone's laughing. Everyone's looking around. They'll cough over their shoulder. Why aren't we all dead?
Yeah.
Or at the gym, there's a mask mandate. Mm-hmm. Everybody has to wear their mask. And everybody, according to the news, everybody is super scared. Everybody is in serious danger of getting this virus and dying. The mask has to be worn past the front desk. And then you get past the front desk, and literally every single person in that gym has the mask around their chin, has it below their nose, has it completely off and in their pocket. The only reason we carry masks anymore are for the social justice warriors that'll come over and be like, "How dare you not wear a mask? This is the law." And then we all just put on our mask and we're like, "Uh-huh.
Okay, dude.
Okay." And then they walk away and we take it back
Which is
off.
like 1 in 50 people.
Yeah.
Like, maybe.
It's the super brainwashed people that just get stuck on it.
Yeah.
They just watch too much news.
And like, we're catering to those people. Mm-hmm. And it's not even that they watch news. They're just on social media all the time watching other people share news and then being like, "Yeah, don't be scared. Let me be scared. I need to have something to fight people. I need to feel like I'm making a difference."
If Biden gets elected, coronavirus will go away.
It will disappear.
Completely.
It will disappear, and our country will burn to the ground. So, I mean, it'll be great. Yeah, coronavirus will be gone, but so will everything else about like our known existence in the West. So, it's a fucking dude. This time right now in the world is the craziest thing I think we've probably ever experienced or ever seen. There is the absolute most disinformation. There is a literal war going on within our control systems between good people and bad people. And that is being...
And it's really hard to determine who the good and bad are.
Yeah, incredibly. Like, I don't know. I can't...
Fuck, I can't tell.
I don't know. But there is something happening right now that is... And people are latching onto these individual movements, like the Black Lives Matter stuff, and like that is just a pinprick into
and a good rule
the
of
big
thumb.
picture.
We've mentioned this before, but good rule of thumb: if corporations support your movement, mm-hmm. your movement is compromised.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's like, okay.
Corporations do not have your
exactly
best
what you
interest
say
at heart.
is the problem that I have with the Black Lives Matter movement that discredits it immediately. Where it's like, okay, Black Lives Matter has funneled $700 million to the DNC, to the Democratic Party.
Google Act Blue.
Yeah. Hello.
No, that one's not a conspiracy. That one's been reported on.
Right. So, this like social revolution and stuff that you're trying to do is literally funneling money to the people who are controlling and making this shit happen. Like maybe you guys in the Black Lives Matter movement, you have legitimate, valid concerns, but
Absolutely.
You're being manipulated. You're being fucking manipulated, and it's for a purpose that is not what you think it is, and it's not for good things. There's so many facets of this that like we could just go on forever with it. It's just like, I mean, we started out with the Millie Weaver, right, being arrested, and this is a part of the whole picture, right? Because she's creating this documentary with her husband, basically exposing the entire systematic brainwashing of the entire public using military-grade psychological warfare weapons on the American public.
Confirmed by the CIA.
Confirmed by the CIA. Like, all open source. Like, you can find all of the information that she found and whistleblowers who helped create these programs. And she literally gets arrested, indicted by a grand jury for who knows what reason on the day that she was going to upload that video.
And if you need some context for how our government treats whistleblowers or people that rat them out, where's Edward Snowden?
Yeah.
Where's Julian Assange?
Yeah. Like,
they don't want people to show you the truth. And when they do, this is exactly what happens. Pay attention to the people who get arrested for releasing information. That information is some of the most important stuff you'll ever see.
Yeah, dude. Okay, this is one thing that I have to address with you because it's something that I've been seeing pulling up on social media constantly. And it is just absolutely like burning a rage fire inside of me.
Oh boy, here we
It
go.
is burning a fucking rage fire inside of me. I'm seeing people, okay, like the same people who are behind the Black Lives Matter stuff, behind the mask wearing, coronavirus is a fucking Spanish flu of 1918 and we're all going to die, right? People on that side are saying that the Save the Children movement is a section of QAnon that, like, basically they're saying that the entire Save the Children movement is to draw attention away from the Black Lives Matter movement. And it's like basically a right-wing conspiracy that there are pedophiles like in the government and all of this. And they're like, oh, all of these people ignore the people at the southern border coming from Mexico and how children are being abused and stuff there. And that's more important. And they're all believing lizard people. And like, I've seen this multiple times, how now the people on that side are saying, this is a complete and total psychological operation to take away the importance of the Black Lives Matter movement.
You can believe two things simultaneously.
And I'm just like, dude,
you can champion for two rightful causes at the same time.
People are so lost.
Black lives do matter. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with the organization Black Lives Matter.
Yes. It's just the name.
Yeah.
Doesn't represent the actual organization.
The organization that has
the phrase Black Lives Matter. Yes.
Fully agree with.
I agree.
Got no problems with that. I think the All Lives Matter thing is dumb because it's easily like taking away from like a problem that's systemic in our society. It needs addressing. But the Black Lives Matter like organization, that thing's fucked. And Save the Children. Fuck you. Save the children.
Like, I literally
save all the children. Save the black children. Save the white children. Save the Hispanic children. Save all of the children. You shouldn't be hurting or taking advantage of children. If you do that, I'm gonna punch you in the face. Fuck y'all.
I just cannot believe, man. I cannot believe that I started seeing people fight the Save the Children movement, and it's all of the people that are on the other side. And I'm like, man, the
Save the children from fucking Biden.
Like, right? Just the absolute level of psychological manipulation that has happened in this society is so beyond anything that you could even believe. It's mind-boggling.
And don't think we don't understand that we've been manipulated.
Absolutely.
We are constantly looking for how we have been manipulated.
Right.
And we check each other all the time. And we frequently find that we have been manipulated one way or the other. Because, I mean, you've probably seen it in this podcast if you were watching. We've gotten heated. We've gotten like, yeah, we notice it. Whenever that stuff happens, we notice it. And we're like, okay, I am currently being manipulated. This isn't happening directly in front of me. If it's happening directly in front of you, you have a righteous sort of emotion to that thing. Someone hurts themselves, you feel sad. Yeah. Someone's being attacked, you feel the righteous need to come to their defense. These are real world emotions. But when you're reading something online and it's just, oh, this thing happened, and you know, some of it could be true, some of it could be false, but you feel something from it, turn that off. You got to get that shit out of there because you are currently being manipulated.
Yeah.
If you can't turn that off, I'm sorry. You are easily manipulated.
That's just we are in probably the craziest time like in the world's history right now. Like on a population level, on a societal level, there are so many moving pieces and so many psychological things happening, so many emotional things happening right now.
Even for the people who are actively trying to uncover and look at all the pieces and are okay with being wrong about major things, we still don't know what the fuck is going on.
Right.
There's too much going on. It's like we need an entire team of people to just make sense of what the fuck is happening.
Right, to break
and if
this
you
shit
think
down.
you know what's going on,
Good luck.
I think you might be wrong.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, there's a few things that I know for sure. And the things that I know for sure is if you're hating people and you want people to be hurt, or if you want people to like suffer in some way because of what they believe, you're wrong. I don't care which side you're on, you're wrong.
Yes. If hate is your driving factor and you wish ill upon other people because of their beliefs, you're wrong.
That's the only thing that I know for sure.
I also know that our government does not have our best interests at heart.
Right. Like I was saying before, I don't think it's even government at this point.
What we view as government.
At this point, I feel like it's like there's the government, and then there's a few people within the government that are connected to an outer ring of people, of high-level, big money, big power people that operate outside of the laws and order of like our society. That's where it is. That's where it all is. There's probably a lot of good people in there, man. There's a lot of good people in the government. There's a lot of good people in media. There's a lot of journalists that are like on the right side.
As with everything, there's two goalposts and there's a whole litany of gray in this gray scale, and it gets so convoluted and complex to be able to tell who is good and who is bad. This is why we talk about the lizard people, because there's so much bad out there that it's like the people who are truly making all the bad happen. I can't even think of them as human.
Yeah.
They must be lizards.
They gotta be.
And that allows me to sleep at night because
Right.
looking at another human being, I want to believe in their inherent good. But apparently there are people that are so disgustingly evil out there.
Yeah. And there's probably, this is the thing is like, unless we were there, unless we're up in those echelons and maybe they have this like grand plan of like why doing this like ultimately in the long game is like the right, like Thanos. Think of Thanos.
Yeah.
Like think of
they
Thanos.
really think that
where he's like snap and goodbye half of the population of the entire universe. It's actually going to be a good thing. That he thinks that in his mind he's morally doing the right thing because he's going to reduce suffering ultimately.
But in scope
he's
evil.
He's evil
As fuck.
Yeah. And so
maybe it's the right thing to deplete the population down to what do they want, like 500 million? 500 million people for the entire world. Maybe that is the right thing to do for the planet, for the populace. But the route to get there is pure evil. And I will fight it.
Absolutely. Because there's a way
to not have that.
to not do that.
Like, we could definitely, like, if all the resources they've spent on making this happen on our planet were spent on terraforming, creating space stations, doing things that happen in our sci-fi shows, which we still consider to be impossible, but we're already doing. If we spent that time and effort doing that, all these people could be living elsewhere. It's pretty self-evident when a goddamn self-made billionaire is like, you know what I want to do? I want to make a space program. 10 years later, suddenly we're on Mars.
Yeah.
It's like, really? Y'all thought this wasn't possible? Elon just did it. And he's like,
Just a dude.
just a dude. It's not like he's some like super genius person. He's just realistically a dude.
Yeah, who found a way to like do things. And if everybody was on that same level and was like, hey, we're all in this together, let's find a way to do things and make this work.
It's always harder to do the hard thing in a good way than to do the hard thing in the, I guess, evil way. Because the evil way lets you slip into it.
Yeah.
It allows you to just be like, yeah. Whereas the good way requires you to grind up that fucking hill.
Yeah. Yeah. Hour and 5 minutes.
We're at it. We did it. We're back on track. You'll see us next week.
We did the thing. We're here. A lot of shit came out. A lot of emotional shit. But this is kind of the direction that I want to start going more often, because at this point I'm like, man, I see what's happening. I see what's happening in this world, and I don't have answers. I don't know, but I do know that what's happening is not right.
Yeah.
Something's wrong here.
Don't believe the things that people tell you to believe. Don't believe us.
Yeah.
Just question everything. If there's one thing you ever walk away from one of our podcasts with, it's just question everything. Everything you believe. And there's a space to come from that's just super hippie, but it's love and light.
Yep. We can do it. We'll do it.
Carry that with y'all.
Friends and fame, but we will see you guys in the next one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.